Hello everybody, Ace here, giving it to you straight with day 51 of the video log challenge, and today I wanted to talk to you about being human and what is it all really about. Now, again, I apologize, I got a highway right here, got lawnmowers, got crows, I digress. So I apologize for the noise. Moving forward, that's also what it means to be human, is having to deal with all this stuff that we perceive to be bad or to be wrong or to be good or to be right, and decipher what it really means to us. And what has happened to us over the last 100 years, and specifically these last 12,000 years, is that everything is now a problem and there's no more solutions because there isn't someone to tell us what to do, how to be, how to act, how to think. And because of that, we're lost in the sauce and we're following the person in front of us, even if that's right off a cliff. Now, why are we talking about being human today? Because that's everything we are not now. We've lost our humanity. We aren't kind to each other anymore. We aren't generous. We don't give our undivided attention. We're rude. We're short. We're cold. We're selfish. And why is that? It's because we're in fear. And we're in fear because we're separated from the idea that not only, does God love us, but we are in fact God and we are in fact love. And because of the manipulation that's gone on this planet for however long, has helped us forget who we are, what we are, and why we are here. Now, at this beautiful year of 2020 and the craziest time ever to be on this planet, we are starting to remember. And what is remembering? It's just bringing back together. They say that even when you remember parts of your past lives, when you remember your Akashic records, when you remember who you really are and who you've been, that's actually bringing back soul fragments and fractals back to you. When you bring those fragments and fractals, you're bringing in more light, you're becoming lighter, it's unlocking your DNA, and you're actually being able to become the multidimensional being that you were always meant to be in this form. But it took us, the courageous ones, the ones that came down here at this time, especially those in the older generations that had to suffer through the matrix, being aware of it the whole time. We all came down for a reason, and that reason was to help humanity move forward. But are we doing that right now? Of course we're doing that. You got the Galactic Federation of Light, the Palladians, the Sirians, the Arcturians, you got all these beings, right? But what are humans on the planet doing right now for themselves? And what are the leaders? What are the spiritual leaders of this game? What are they doing for themselves, and what are they doing for others? What I'm seeing is a lot of spiritual egos still. I'm seeing a lot of people that believe that they are here and therefore can then look down on others for where they are in their path because they themselves haven't been able to work through their trauma. Therefore, they feel like they can judge because they know what's right and what's wrong and what's good and bad. But in reality, there is no right or wrong. There is no good or bad. There's only positive and negative, and we need both sides of the spectrum to make this whole thing work. Sorry again for the lawnmower. And so what is being human? To me, being human is embracing this entire journey. It's embracing emotion. It's embracing feeling. Something my guides came to me with. They talked about how I'm on my highest timeline possible. There's nothing I can be doing more now than what I'm doing to get me even further ahead of the game. But that doesn't mean that there aren't challenges on the highest timeline. That doesn't mean that we don't got to sometimes take 2 steps back to go 1 step forward. It doesn't mean that we still don't have trauma that we have to address and let go of, So being human is the whole point of this thing. And I believe a lot of people that are still sleeping and are in a lot of pain and suffering, I believe that they are stuck in their human. They're stuck in their bodies. They're stuck in fear. They're stuck in limitation and in perception that they aren't everything that has been, is, and ever will be. And then people over here on this side of the spectrum that have moved completely into their spirit, we call it Lemuria, Atlantis, Lemuria, right? So the Lemurians over here who are completely blissed out in their spirit, who haven't addressed their human trauma, now they're looking down on people, they're judging people, they're saying that this is good and this is bad and this is right and this is wrong, because their human ego, the part of them that's been neglected, the part of them that's never been seen, heard, or acknowledged, which is still a spiritual aspect to them. It's crying to be addressed. It's crying to let go, because all that pain that's being pushed down deep in there, doesn't matter if you do hot yoga 50,000 times a day, if you eat the perfect diet, you have an emotional body that can gain weight. I can attest to this. I've lost 22 pounds of just emotional toxicity weight this year alone. Just emotional weight. For the first time in my life that I held inside my body, I believe in my fascia, as that puffy. You look at people who are puffy and inflamed, that's all emotion. And if you're a spiritual being and you're 50 pounds overweight, are you doing the right work at the right time? If your vehicle isn't clear, if your vehicle isn't respected, if your temple isn't where it needs to be, are you able to go where it is you truly need to go? And we're not saying to help humanity. I mean, you could be a spiritual being and be 450 pounds and still bestow wisdom onto people. But you're also not being a good example for those people still stuck in their human, of a way to get out of that, so that they can actually create some abundance and less suffering in their lives, because the only way we suffer is through these vehicles, because we're perfect beings. And when we put in the wrong food, when our systems are off, when we're constantly having to digest, when we're constantly having to work through pounds and pounds and pounds of extra flesh and toxicity, whether that be muscle or fat, all that time is spent in the body, not able to actually help you ascend and help you get the answers you need on your journey. Because if you're a spiritual teacher, if you're a way shower, you still have work to do, and it's not going to stop. This is constant work. Every time we're in form, it's constant work, because that's the whole idea. Why would you take such a big risk such as this to potentially lose yourself, to lose a part of yourself in this life, if it wasn't an opportunity to grow every single moment of every single day? That is what is being human. And we've gotten away from that. We've gotten away from our humanity, especially because we got it away from it within ourselves. Everything's reaching. Everything's trying to make it happen. Everything's trying to make the external come to life, without realizing that maybe the reason we're not attracting the right things, the more positive things that we can attract, right? If we can attract those more positive things into our life, we'd be much happier, more content, more fulfilled. But how do we do that? I'm doing everything. There's nothing, but you're not listening to yourself. You're not listening to this body. You're not listening to the Akashic records that you signed up for. And if you're someone who has gained access to their higher self, who has gained access to the living kingdom, who can access their higher Akashic records and channel, there's no excuse anymore. There's no excuse anymore. And here's how I look at this whole thing now. This is how I look at taking care of ourselves. We're not just taking care of ourselves for us and for our pursuits. We're taking care of ourselves so that we can better take care of others. Imagine being a healing teacher. Imagine being a spiritual teacher. And the healthier you get physically, the more wisdom you gain, the more access to your powers you attain, and then also the more you can help your students or your clients or whatever it is that you're meant to do. That's the whole thing. Is I'm not talking about this human experience, this human body, from a superficial, vain lens. I'm talking about it from a purely functional lens, from a spiritual level. What does a life look like, right? What does a spiritual path look like when somebody's physically training for spiritual enlightenment and ascension? Eating for spiritual enlightenment and ascension. You can still look really great if that's something you're into. Me, I want to look good. I've always worked towards it. I was never able to attain it in my mind's eye because I had not been doing the right work at the right time. I hadn't been putting the right things in my body. Now that I've cleared all that trauma, now I've literally shed myself down to a default level. Now I could just build. We're creator beings, and this is the thing that we are creating through and from and with and of. And here's the other thing about being human and being a spirit and being a multidimensional eternal being in form, is that you grew this body yourself. Nobody else did that for you. You didn't just come into the body one day and all of a sudden, oh look, I have a six-pack and I look like a Greek god because I did nothing and I just came. No, that's not how it's going to work. Even the soul merges, even the walk-ins are people who are decaying the most. And those walk-ins have to come, reorient themselves in the body, and then heal it in order for them to get to where they're trying to go and then help the spirit that left continue on their path. It's only happening through this body. That is what being human is all about. That's why it's all concepts, is because we are so unique that there is no potentiality in the world and any universe and any point in time that any two beings, any two fractals of God can actually be doing, thinking, saying the same things at the same time that's in a lesser form. Because your experiences shape your perspective completely. But also your vehicle shapes your perspective, and how you're feeling about your vehicle that day changes your perspective that day. And so the more we work on this vehicle, the more we work through our trauma, the more we clear this temple, the more stability we gain, the more balance and harmony we find, because then we don't have all this stuff inside that's triggering us to work through it, because that is what a trigger is. Being triggered is basically being human. It's going, perceived lack. Okay, I have a perceived lack. I'm separated. I have fear. Why do I feel this way? And what can I do to change it? But like me, in my path, I blamed myself for everything. I had guilt, I had shame, I had all these issues. And now I don't have those anymore. And I can now work through those triggers without holding them against myself and needing to go down for 2 or 3 days because I'm the biggest piece of shit in the world and I'm weak and I'm this and I'm that and all these narratives and storylines. I call it Hollywood. We've watched so much Hollywood that we have literally Hollywood in our brains. We are literally producers. We are directors. And all we direct is scary freaking movies because our vehicle is literally the setting of a horror film because all of our systems are off. And here's the other thing. We've been so focused on the masculine energies in our life, the masculinity in our life, while completely disregarding the masculine in the human form, and is what caused this issue with men across the world. Who they don't know who they are. They don't know what masculinity is, and they're all walking around with 6-year-olds with little thingies in their hands, right? And the reason this is because it's just been thwarting of the feminine energy. So males haven't been able to embrace their feminine energies, which means they've squelched their emotional, spiritual bodies. And because they've only been focused in their masculine, which is their physical and mental bodies like I was, that off balance decays you. And then when you get into a relationship with another person and you start giving away your life force continuously, your seminal fluid, your seed, all of a sudden now you really don't have any emotional or spiritual life force, and you literally give your balls away. That's why it's called giving your balls to your woman or giving your balls to your man, is because you're giving away your life force because you don't have the temple clear enough to where when you do produce seminal fluid, when you do release your seed, it's actually going to create and not to distract or not to cope. So again, even how you are in your human as a man and a woman, and how you release during intercourse and sexual whatever, plays a part on your spiritual path. It plays a part on your emotional path. And if you're lethargic all the time and you don't have energy all the time and you're depressed all the time, up and check out what you're doing to yourself and what you're doing with others. You know, how many times a week are you releasing? These are the human conversations. You know, we could talk about poop. What's your poop look like? Your poop will tell you everything about what's going on inside your body, but everybody wants to talk about poop. Nobody wants to think about it because we're so ashamed to be human. We're ashamed to talk about sex. We're ashamed to talk about our bodies. We were told not to talk about religion, money, and politics for 50, 60, 70, 80, 90, 100 years. Look how far that got us. Everything that it means to be human, there's a war on, because we're giving our consent to that. We keep talking about all the dark entities and the dark energies and all these people and things, and it's all bullshit. There's only one human in this life. You're human. Everybody else is a reflection. Everybody else is a mirror for us. It's it. It's really it. I'm going to keep going deeper into this human stuff. I feel that that's my lane. I feel that it's where a lot of people are lacking right now in attention, focus, and understanding. And knowing me as a spiritual toddler on this game and just basically getting my gifts or whatever just recently, I'm going to go forth and study and learn from people who know about that stuff and can teach me and can guide me in the right direction. And I know that I'm going to move forth and teach people, especially the spiritually heightened people who have neglected their human, about the purpose of being human and what it means to take care of this vehicle and ascend with it so that we can unlock the kingdom forever. Because you cannot hold 5D if your temple's broken. You cannot hold 6D at all if your temple isn't clear. And if that's your goal, like it's mine, and I know it's a lot of us, we all want to be blissed out. We all want unicorns, kittens, and puppies. And it's coming. But it's going to take work. And if you're not willing to do that human work, you're going to stay in the third dimension. You got to be willing to do the work. And here's the thing, with what's going on with the Great Conjunct coming down in a week or two on December 21st, I have a feeling people are going to have no choice but to do the work. That's what's so incredible about this thing, about what's happening, is that everyone's focused on the spirit right now, right? Everyone's focused in the higher consciousness, in the multidimensionality, in the angelic realm, with the Syrians and the Andromedans and the channelers and all these things. But this ascension is a human journey. The only ones ascending are the humans on this planet, the ones who chose to be in form at this time to go through this crazy fucked up thing that we're going through. I don't know why we chose it. It's pretty awesome on my end, but I mean, the last 4 years, the last 11 years, the last 30 years, not that awesome. And I know a lot of you feel the same way. So why did you choose to come into form at this time? Why are you human right now? What does it mean to be human? What is humanity? And how can you be a better human each day to yourself so that you can be a better human to other beings that are out there? And I use this analogy. If someone smokes cigarettes, right, and then tosses their cigarette out the window onto Gaia, that used to trigger me. So I've yelled at a couple people because of that before. I never understood that. If you're going to kill yourself, that's okay. You have free will. But why are you going to then reduce our lot? And why are you going to then pollute our land, our world, because you don't respect your temple? And then through this journey, I realized, if you don't respect your temple enough not to poison it, then how can I ever expect you not poison the temple of Gaia? That was a miscalculation on my part because I didn't heal my trauma, because I didn't heal the parts of me that I felt guilt and shame for when I littered or when I didn't do something that I knew was the right thing to do. And because we reflect onto one another what we need to be focused in on ourselves, that allowed me to go deeper into me and understand that these are the things I do because I choose to do them. It doesn't matter what other people do. It doesn't matter what other people choose. And someone who poisons themselves and then poisons Gaia, I have nothing but love for them, because the amount of pain they've transmuted for us and the amount of pain they're still in, I have nothing but love, because I understand that pain. And that's all it is. That's all human addictions are coping mechanisms, because we don't want to deal with the trauma that is underlying that crutch. We don't want to go through the hard human parts of us to let go of the parts that are actually killing our temple and not allowing us to ascend and feel good about who we are, what we are, and why we are here. And it always comes down to choice. And so this human journey, being human, is all choice. That's the key. And that's the thing that people forgot. And that's the thing people are victims to now, is this idea that I didn't sign up for this. Oh, yes, you did. Especially if you're a leader now, especially if you're a healer now, especially if you're a light worker, a light warrior, damn right you signed up for this. You knew exactly what you were going to get into. I was talking to my guides the other day, right? And I was thinking to myself, why would I choose to be blind in this life? I have terrible vision. I think it's 2400. It's nuts. I never really understood what the magnetization was, or the fractions or whatever, until they said basically what somebody sees normally at 20 is what I need to be blown up 400 times the size of so that I can see it in the same detail and clarity as they do. Why the fuck would I choose to be blind in this life? It's hard enough as it is. Why would I choose to be blind? And what my guides came to me and said was, because you wanted the challenge. I started cracking up. That's something I would say. I would totally say that. Fuck it, let's do it blind and see how hard it is. That's just how I am. I've always been the kind of person that says, let's try it. Let's see what happens. We'll figure it out. But what I didn't realize initially, and then I started to dive deeper into that idea, is that my eyesight issue, right, this issue of eyesight, so to speak, has been integral in my breaking and reforming and ascension to the being I am today. And if I didn't have that eyesight problem, this life would have not been exactly how it needed to be where I am in this moment. And this moment is the best moment of my entire life. Potentially of any life ever lived on any planet at any time before. Because we are the grand total of all the lives we've ever lived. And that is why we clear this temple. That is why we walk the path of being human. That's why we learn to love and embrace our trauma and our shadow, because that unlocks the Akashic records, which is not just a blueprint from this life, but all of the skills, all of the knowledge, all of the wisdom, all of the gifts you've had and attained throughout all your other lives. And that's why Yeshua was able to walk on water and turn water into wine, or turn wine into water, or whatever, water into wine, and all those things, was simply because he went through the path of being human enough times in his lifetimes, plural, right, to where he finally was able to remember, recollect, clear his temple, and then move into 5D, 6D state where there's no time, there's no space, you're all and everything. Because we are all and everything. And that's all he was saying was, follow the path laid out by God. I will show you that path. I will show you the way. Praise God. Be grateful to him. Be as good of a human as you can be to other humans. And you will unlock the keys to the kingdom, and you will live in the living kingdom until the day you die or pass or transition or whatever you want to call it. It's the path of being human that was misconstrued and misappropriated to turn into this control organization that is the Catholic and Christian doctrine. I don't even call it the church anymore because it's all lies and bullshit. And so, if you look at the history of Yeshua's teachings, Christianity wasn't legalized, right? Wasn't signed into law. Christian insanity wasn't signed into law until 542 AD by Constantine. The last time we had this Saturn and Jupiter conjunct in Aquarius was 519 AD. 542 AD, he legalized Christianity and released the Holy Bible. But what's the story that led to that? The decades that led to him allowing Christians to practice Christianity in Rome, ready for this, was he purged the Gnostics. He killed all of the followers of Jesus' original teachings, took the 66 books, hid them down in the annals of the Vatican, which, by the way, is 56 miles long, of shelves and things like that, right? He purged the Gnostics' teachings. He hid Jesus' original teachings, his original 66 Bibles, right? The original Bible with 66 books in it. Translated it into Latin, right? Translated it into Latin, made it one book, and because no one else in the Roman, none of the serfs and the peasants, they couldn't read or write, the only people that could read and decipher and convey the Bible and the Word of God were the priests and the bishops and the holy men who were educated in reading and writing the language created by the people who nailed Jesus to a cross. And the last 2,000 years, I believe, has been the forgetting of the old mythological gods, the breaking of this monotheistic Amun-Ra God, and the awakening and ascension of us on our human journeys to this point in time now, remembering who we are, what we are, why we are here, and what we were meant to do this entire time, because it's all perfect still. It's all perfect still. It was meant to happen this way. We could get in our egos and start judging the darkness, start judging the shadow, start talking about all the bad stuff that's gone down. But if all that stuff didn't go down the way it went down, how it went down, would millions upon millions, if not hundreds of millions of people be waking up at the same time right now? And would they be in a place during this giant energetic shift to actually physically handle what's happening inside their bodies? Because it sucks. It sucks right now. It's rough. And what we're going to see moving forward in 2021 and then in the next decade or two, as more waves of human beings come online, there are going to be two camps. There are going to be camps that embrace this human journey, that embrace this transformation, transition, awakening, and ascension, right? And they're going to go with it, and they're going to clear their temples, and they're going to create new life systems, and they're going to become the beings that they were always designed to become. And they're going to be the people who have not done the right work at the right time, or because they didn't choose to in this life, in their Akashic record, they're going to stay in human form, in the pure human form, in the pure 3D, and that's perfectly fine. And they'll wear their masks, and they'll get their vaccines, and they'll go do their entertainment, and they'll drink their drinks, and they'll eat their foods, and then they'll pass on. And eventually, we've been obsessed with evolution, even though it's been absolutely wrong. Darwin's evolutionary theory was absolutely wrong. 20 years after Darwin talked about it, he even said, this is absolutely wrong, and I really hope that people come around and correct it. But because they saw it as a means to keep us oppressed, but in reality created the very situation for our awakening, everything is perfect. And here we are. And all that's left is you and me doing the work within ourselves, being responsible for ourselves and accountable to each other. Because we are only as strong as the weakest link. And if there's a human that you're judging and putting down, you are that human. You are no better than that human. This goes to me too. I still judge. I still get my ego. The masks trigger me like crazy. Oh, why would you wear a mask? And I get like that. And I lower my vibration. I lower my frequency. I lower my resonance. And then more of that comes, more bullshit. And then all of a sudden, when I was walking through stores not being talked to or talked about, but because I was gossiping about mask wearers for 2 or 3 days, now when I go into a store, I get confronted. Oh, all these people and they're these shop owners, and we don't even know if these shop owners are real. They could be literally NPCs, non-player characters, right? Shopkeepers and things like that. We don't know if these people are actually real or if they're meant to be there at that time to match our energy to teach us the lesson we need to teach. Because I've walked around stores and I've walked in public, 95% of the time I don't get confronted about a mask because I have high energy, high resonance, high vibration, high frequency, and I smile and talk to everybody. But if I've been talking shit, if I've been getting in my ego, if I'm not in the highest place and I go out and I feel that little twinge of fear, the odds are I'm going to be confronted, because that is the universe teaching me you have some fear left, which means you still feel a little separate from God. So now we're going to put you into a situation, we're going to put you into a human situation that is going to remind you of who you are and is going to teach you the lessons that you need to pull in this very moment so that you can move forward into your life. And that is the path of being human. And I'll go deeper into self-awareness. I mean, that is so deep. It's 4 chapters in my book is self-awareness. 4 chapters is acceptance. 4 chapters is self-care, and 4 chapters is self-love. And I just discovered self-trust is the next one. So I already have another book coming after that. And I've been walking this path for several years, my entire life, honestly, but I've been steadily walking the path that I'm writing about, that I channeled from the universe, that God and that my light family gave me, because I know I needed to walk it. I know I needed to go through this transition and transformation so that then I can help other humans go through theirs to unlock the beings that they are. But it's one thing to help people who are awakened, but what about the people who don't want to be awakened, that all of a sudden are going to be jolted awake and they're pissed off and they're scared and they're causing chaos for all of us? What are we going to judge them? As spiritual beings, we're going to put them down. We're going to fight them. That's us. That was us 6 months ago. That was us 6 years ago. That was us 16 years ago. You were there at one point in this journey. At some point, you were where that person is. And if you weren't, you most likely, these words don't matter to you because you're all love anyway. But if you're still having judgment in your heart for other human beings, it's because you're judging yourself for not being the best human you can be. That's the path of being human. And that is our only responsibility, is to each other, for ourselves. It's a paradox. Live selfishly, selfless, so that we're constantly creating a feedback loop of positivity to grow with. But we've had generations and generations live selfishly selfless, where they gave everything to everyone and everybody, and then complained and was bitter and resentful, and that's narcissism. And narcissism is only based in trauma, unaddressed trauma from our past, unaddressed human trauma from our past that isn't even us. We are not our traumas. We are infinite beings, but our human has gone through trauma, and it is our duty as the higher conscious fractal God to help this human heal, to help this human ascend, to help this human work through its stuff, so that not only is your path then cleared, not only is your path now a lot less effort, a lot less struggle, but in reality, you're healing this human, and then you're healing the collective because of it, in multiple facets, in multiple ways, in multiple layers. But it starts from within. It's the only being you have under your charge, and you're not this human. And what if I were to say that the whole goal of this life wasn't just to reach enlightenment by basically what we're doing right now is becoming aware that the third density isn't real, that we're infinite beings, that everybody's one, everything's one. I mean, that's enlightenment. But in reality, what the real purpose of this specific lives, of the lives that we're living as the spiritual healers potentially, is to merge this human with our spirit, to become one, to remember completely. That is how you ascend. That is what the path of becoming an ascended master is. That's all it is. That's all it is follow the word of God to a T, but within yourself. And if you follow the word of God to a T within yourself, love thyself. Take care of thyself. Don't cheat, don't steal. All those things are for the Holy Trinity. All those things, it's all energy. There's no right or wrong. But if you cheat, you lower your frequency. If you cheat repeatedly, you lower your frequency even lower. And if you are known as a cheater, you now have the resonance of a cheater, and your opportunities will dry up, and you will have to take time to make up for being that. Look at the guy, a Wolf on Wall Street, Jordan, whatever his name is. He's just now, 20, 30 years after his peak, because he was a cheater and a liar, now just coming back to form, and I bet you he's going through some shit during this ascension as well. But here's the thing. We can look at that guy as a bad guy, but think about the opportunities for the spirits, not the humans. The humans, that was probably horrible for him. But think about the opportunities he was able to provide so many people that he touched, good, bad, or indifferent, to then ascend within their own lives, to then ascend within their own beings. Nothing is good or bad. It is all challenges. They're all test dungeons. They're all boss battles for us to evolve our human through. So just give yourself a little bit of a break for being human. And if you can give yourself a break for being human, if you can give yourself a break for being fallible, for having lack, for being less than, for feeling insecure, for all those things that are human, that are feelings of human, if you can forgive yourself for those, you will heal completely. And if you forgive yourself for those and heal completely, you will help people heal inherently, because you'll feel too good to not want to help others heal. And if you hate humans right now, it's probably because you kind of hate yourself. And if you hate humanity right now, it's because you kind of hate yourself, and it's because you neglected yourself a little too long. And it's time to address the scared, neglected little boy or girl that's inside that we've never talked about. We never talked to. We've never given the time of day. We've either pushed them down, or we tried to kill them. Or we tried to do all these things, cope through them, distract through them. But what's crazy is they hold the keys. That scared little boy or girl will get you into the living kingdom. But without that scared little boy or girl, you will not gain admittance into the kingdom. That is your duty as a human on this planet. Heal that scared little boy or girl and ascend into the being that you are, into the beingness that we all are. And only we can do that for ourselves together. So if you liked what you've seen and heard today, hit that like button. If you want to join the army of energy, hit that subscribe button. If you want to hit me up on Gmail, damahwolf@gmail.com. I'm on day 40. I'm on day 40 of dirt. I keep jumping. I don't even know anymore. Feeling great. This is 51 videos. Pretty excited, especially during this time, especially during the ascension. I'm still able to do this. It's incredible to me. That's why I know clearing the temple is the key. It's not fun. It sucks. It did change everything in your life, and you have to stop actually caring about how food tastes. I mean, what's crazy is, though, is the more you clear your temple and the more that you heal this body, the more you're going to want good food, want life in your body. Like, I look at a piece of pizza and I want it, and then I eat it. I'm like, ugh. And I look at spinach and mushrooms and I'm like, ugh. And I eat it and I'm like, ah. So now, again, it's programs. We got to rewrite the programs in our head. It's one thing letting go of the trauma of our human past. The next step is then readdressing the programs that are telling us that this is how we need to react. This is how we need to eat. This is how we need to think. This is how we need to speak, because that's all the programming. So I hope you get a little bit further on your path today. I hope you gain a little bit more clarity on your journey. I hope you can bring a little bit more love into your heart for humanity, a little more love into your heart for being human, because this is all it is. This is the point of existence, is to be human, to learn how to be human, to heal your human, and then use this vehicle to become the greatest God you have yet to be. Because we're always ascending. This ascension journey doesn't end just because we get out of form either. We're moving from the 5D to the 6D because God is trying to get us all to move then into the 7D, into the 8D, into the 9D, into the 10D. This is huge, people. This is huge. And I'm so grateful to be on this journey with you. I'm so grateful to get to have conversations with you all, to hear how my words are helping you, to hear how you're evolving in your life, to connect with other higher consciousness beings that want to help heal the world, that want to help the world heal, but that are doing, man, I'm on cloud 9. I'm on cloud 9, people. I'm so grateful for all of you because you're helping me make this a reality. Seriously, your energy, I feel in every video. This one was long. But being human is very important to me. It's been my focus this entire life, and I've hated myself. I've hated my human. I've hated so much for so long. No more. It's all about the love, and I love each and every one of you. So have a wonderful afternoon. Have an even better evening, and I'll see you at the same time tomorrow. Take care, and goodbye.